Welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast with your host, Helen Fritsch. Helen is a 60-plus, lifelong competitive athlete, flight attendant, published fitness model, writer, IFBB bodybuilding pro, and certified wine specialist who believes that your age is irrelevant to pursue goals, dreams, and desires. Are you a woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who still has a burning desire to pursue a dream or a passion? Are you thinking about starting a new chapter in your life, but you're hesitant, thinking that you might be too old or just don't know where to begin? The Age is Irrelevant podcast is a podcast devoted to women who want to defy the odds, smash barriers, and redefine happiness and success after 40. It's time to make a difference. There is no need to dread blowing out that added birthday candle every year. A new movement is slowly taking momentum, where being over the hill just isn't relevant anymore. Age labels are being thrown out the window, and women are rediscovering the strength within themselves to make a difference, not only within their own lives, but also touching and inspiring the lives of other women. Join Helen as she and her guests discuss all aspects of aging after 40 and how to make the aging process and those twilight years more rewarding, exciting, and fun.
Hello, and welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. I'm your host, Helen Fritsch, and this is episode 113. Now, today on the podcast, I'm thrilled to welcome a woman whose work is transforming how we think about health, longevity, and the power that we hold within our own bodies. Dr. Shivani Gupta is a renowned Ayurvedic practitioner, author, podcast host, and a leading voice in the world of holistic wellness. She has dedicated her life to bridging ancient Ayurvedic wisdom with modern science, helping people reclaim their vitality through simple, intentional lifestyle practices. Now, this is Dr. Shivani's second time on the show. I wanted to have her back again because so many of us at midlife are going through so many changes physically, mentally, and emotionally. She has such great insight and knowledge to share, and her new book, The Inflammation Code, will be a must-have when it's released. I know I'll be buying it. Her expertise spans many areas of wellness, but she's especially celebrated for her groundbreaking work on gut health, inflammation, and the profound healing potential of turmeric. Dr. Shivani has made it her mission to make Ayurvedic living accessible, practical, and deeply empowering, no matter your age or starting point. And in today's conversation, we'll dive into the fundamentals of Ayurvedic health, explore how small shifts can create massive transformation, learn why turmeric has become one of the most powerful tools in her wellness toolkit, and hear about her new book, The Inflammation Code. So get a pad and a pen and get ready for an inspiring, informative, and energizing journey into a new kind of health, one that supports you from the inside out. Now let's welcome the incredible Dr. Shivani Gupta to our show.
Hi, Shivani. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So for my listeners, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Shivani Gupta to the podcast. Shivani is an Ayurvedic specialist, wellness entrepreneur, and now author of a new book, The Inflammation Code. She has spent years teaching how Ayurvedic practices can help us regulate inflammation, restore balance, and support vibrant health at every age. And for women over 50, this becomes especially meaningful as our bodies, hormones, nervous systems, and daily lives continue to shift and evolve. Now, I've been looking forward to this conversation because Shivani has a gift for making Ayurveda simple and doable, not overwhelming, not rigid, just deeply nourishing and realistic. So today we're going to be diving into inflammation, what it really is, why it often increases during midlife, what practical rituals, foods, and mindset shifts can help us feel strong, grounded, energized, and truly alive. And again, Shivani, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So I want to start off and ask you about your story. Let's talk about what first led you to Ayurveda.
For sure. So I grew up in an Indian household, and I got to see how when I went to India to visit my family, whenever I got sick, my grandma would just open up the spice cabinet and she would pull out either cumin seeds or fennel or turmeric or ginger, and she'd make a tea and she would heal my body. And in the United States, in the US, in the West, when I got sick growing up, I'd go to the pediatrician, you'd get a script, you'd fill it for your antibiotic, you'd run to the drugstore, buy some Dayquil, NyQuil, whatever you're going to buy for your symptoms. You'd take that, and about a week later, you'd get better. And so I lived in these two worlds, and I kept thinking, gosh, one has like spices that work, and one has, back then it was Eckerd's, now it's CVS that works. Who's right? Which way works? And fast forward to the time I got in my 20s, by that time, I was so sick all the time. I'd get on a plane, I'd catch a cold, I'd go to a party, I'd catch a cold. So while all my friends in college could just do whatever they wanted, I was already behaving like a little old lady who had to like stay bundled, stay inside, avoid humans, take lots of vitamins, eat really carefully. I just had to manage myself like this autoimmune, very delicate person. And I thought, is this ever going to change? Like, will I ever find a way out of this? Or is this just the rest of my life that everyone else goes and has fun and I stay in and kind of hide? And so by that time, I was in India and I was going to the doctors, trying to figure out what was wrong with me for the 100th time. And I discovered Ayurveda and I told my parents, there's this thing here called Ayurveda. And Ayurveda and yoga are these sciences out of India. You guys don't know much about it, but I really think it might be the tool I need. Can we go discover it? And luckily, my parents were really burnt out, exhausted, successful entrepreneurs by that time. And they were like, sure, we'll go detox with you all over India. Let's go. And so as I did that, I was like, whoa, this is this ancient science. Millions of people come through India to get healed, but no one knows about it. So why does Ayurveda suck at marketing? How come no one understands this wisdom? And so since my 20s, it's been my dream to keep taking that wisdom and that treasure chest and bring it west in ways that we can apply and use to ourselves.
And you actually went to school for that too.
Correct. Yeah, I ended up doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences, which was amazing. And then I ended up doing my PhD dissertation on turmeric, the spice, which was really fun.
Turmeric's one of my top all-time favorites. I take it religiously.
Nice.
So when we talk about inflammation, it really gets thrown around a lot. So from your Ayurvedic lens, how would you describe inflammation in a simple, like everyday way?
Ayurveda looks at inflammation as your body wants to stay healthy, whole, nourished, and aligned. The goal of the body is body, mind, and spirit in alignment. And everything we do that goes against that and takes us away from that is something that's in our environment that's not working for us. And so Ayurveda really looked at it as what are you doing? What are you allowing to come into your space, physically, mentally, or emotionally, that's causing this trouble that's not allowing the body to stay healthy? And so inflammation is just a dysregulation in the system, whether it's gut dysregulation, whether it's foreign toxins, whether it's poor eating habits, whether it's lack of self-care and not moving enough, or even a disassociation or a breakage from circadian rhythm. And so Ayurveda really says, look, you have this beautiful ability to stay healthy. You just need to build a lifestyle and a rhythm that works for you, and then you're not going to be inflamed or have any of these issues.
Well, and I take notice that many women over 50 begin to notice new changes in their lives. Their sleep shifts, digestion changes, joint stiffness, more stress. Why does inflammation tend to rise during this particular stage in life?
As we age, we know just through modern day science, we're gonna have cellular decline. We're gonna have things like zombie cells that form that run around and cause damage inside the system and just form more zombie cells. We know we have senescent cells, aging cells. We know we have oxidation, oxidative stress accumulating in the system. And so there's a lot of different factors, but there's also the fact that in our younger years, oftentimes we flip on these light switches of inflammation in the system, whether it's in our 20s and drinking too much, pulling all-nighters, stress, relationship stress, career stress, all these things that happen. And when do we ever pause and turn off those light switches of inflammation? So a lot of what I see is we kicked off inflammation at some point. Could have been a stressful event, could have been an environmental toxin or a chronic toxin that we're exposed to. Fast forward into our 30s, we start to feel it. We get fatigued. We're like, our sleep is so important to us now. We have some aches and pains that start to crop up. Many people now are feeling a lot of symptoms in their 30s. Go to your 40s, they're getting louder. 50s even louder, 60s even louder. So we're not acknowledging that it's inflammation that's the culprit. We're blaming aging. And so all my friends are like, gosh, I'm just aging. I guess this is how it is now in my body. And my response to that is no, that's inflammaging. That's inflammation causing symptoms, and you're blaming aging and you're normalizing this. You're saying, okay, well, I guess this is just how it is now. But if you go back and look at that root cause, you'll realize, you know what? There's specific things I'm doing in my lifestyle and behavior that if I change them, will create this completely new result that I want. And so I truly think of it as environmental toxin burden, circadian disruption. Sometimes our sleep is affected and we're not doing everything we need to fix the sleep. We know we're going to have cellular decline as we age. We know we're going to have metabolic decline. So it's almost aging creates this perfect storm, and we have to put the right stop gaps in place in the right way to win at that inflammation accumulation. That happens for all of us, even if we're being good kids and trying so hard to eat well, move well, sleep well, and all those things. Sometimes we're not putting in the right pattern or the right rhythm to win at it.
Something that you mentioned that I learned about a while ago, and I take some supplements for that cause, but you talked about zombie cells and senescent cells. A lot of people, I don't think, are aware of that. So can we just do a little quick deep dive into that? Because I find that fascinating and also so important for us to realize that we have these type of cells within us, but we can, supplement and we can do things to help prevent all that stuff accumulating.
For sure. I presented on turmeric at a longevity conference a few years ago. And when I was at speaking at A4M, I took a few months to build out my slide deck. So I was like, I'm going to speak in front of hundreds of doctors. I want to show up with the best current science. And as I pulled the research, I was so upset with what I saw because I'm an optimist. So I believe that every day we have all these choices and we can build phenomenal health. It's all a choice. But what I read in the science that I was looking at was it said, look, as we age, there will be cellular decline. The body is going to have aging cells that are going to run around and cause more damage. That oxidative stress is like our systems rusting. That's why as we age, we start to slow down. Now, what's cool is we have so much modern science that shows us how to defy this and totally beat this, which is what excites me. But yes, zombie cells are basically cells in our body that go rogue. We know in any given body we have cells that can turn malignant, that can be turned in a direction that's not good. That's what happens with zombie cells. Something you do in your life that you knowingly or unknowingly do. Maybe in your case, it's mycotoxins and mold, which is the year I'm dealing with right now with my health. And whatever it is, knowingly or unknowingly, flips a switch. And these zombie cells that form know how to run into your other cells and keep creating more and more zombie cells. They cause more and more damage. What's interesting to me is how does the body not catch that and immediately clean house and get rid of it? Well, the problem is our bodies oftentimes are distracted between the rising inflammation and the backed up lymphatic system most of us have. The body's in this state of a traffic jam. And so when your body's in a traffic jam saying, gosh, I've got to fight these fires of inflammation. I don't know what's happening here. Lymphatic system's not cleaning and clearing. Maybe lymphatic system in the brain isn't cleaning and clearing because of how we're sleeping and what time we're sleeping. That traffic jam means body's distracted, and over here new problems are cropping up, whether it's in different parts of the body, whether it's in the brain. And so that's a pollution issue. And our job is to go in there and say, let me help the body clean house. So when I looked at the research of turmeric, turmeric does that. Turmeric gets rid of zombie cells, clears out senescent cells, clears out any malignant or bad cells and bacteria in the body that don't belong, but it leaves all the good in place. And so that's why I was so obsessed with turmeric, because if it's antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, knows how to get rid of zombie cells and all these bad things, but leaves the good. I was like, that's the kind of solutions I need at this point. So I think it's really fascinating that our body will generate these things, but we have a lot of science showing how to fight against it.
Yeah, no, I just find it super, super fascinating. And I take turmeric on a daily basis. And so I actually even go in once every 4 to 6 weeks and do a curcumin IV.
Nice.
Yeah, I have leukemia. And so I've had it for 11 and a half years now with no treatment so far. And I just think it's all my health practices that have kept me, you know, from chemo up to this point. So I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
Good
that's
job.
and I'm not sure if you ever had a curcumin IV, but it's painful.
Yeah, I have not. People ask me about it all the time, and I'm like, I have not done this thing yet. I have to find someone I really trust because you
Yeah.
have to be careful when you're doing such big treatments. But we know turmeric is so effective on the body. So it makes sense to get in there and really use it when you're dealing with something serious the way you are. Most people who I talk to, they meet me and they're like, why is your turmeric better? How did you make it? And I'll be able to customize dosage for them based on what they're dealing with. If they're in acute pain, they're like, I sprained my ankle, I'm like, you can actually take more turmeric in a given day and then back down to your regular dosage.
Right, right. So we were talking about inflammation, and you briefly mentioned mental inflammation.
Yes.
So let's talk about like chronic stress and that relentless mental load that we sometimes deal with on a daily basis, especially with women, our age.
For sure. So, when I was sitting down to write this book on inflammation, I wanted to teach everyone okay, we can build a lifestyle. We can build a lifestyle around circadian rhythm. We can eat so well and eat this anti inflammatory diet that's nourishing. We can approach gut health. We can move our bodies and exercise and lift and yoga and Pilates and all these things and walk. So, there's a lot of lifestyle I teach in my book. Self-care rituals that are detoxing on a daily basis, super spices that are effective. But after I finished writing the book, I always have my greatest ideas in the shower. And I was like, I need to explain to people that sometimes we over angst and overwork towards being so healthy that we tend to flip that over and start getting the opposite effect. So sometimes in my case, because I'm so obsessed with health, I will eat too clean. I will be too careful with my diet. I will like not allow any fun or healthy fat or the good stuff in because I'm being too controlling of it. Or I'll make health a full-time job because, I want to have this optimal health that I teach about all day. And so mental inflammation to me was this idea that struck in my mind as a way to explain that if we're going to sit there and have chronic stress in our lives, whether it's about our health or about anything else, could be about our kids, our career, our home, whatever it is, relationships, whatever that chronic stress is that we are running as many, many open Chrome tabs in our brain, that alone will cause the physical inflammation in our body that we are trying to battle against. And I'm a culprit of that. I'm in my mid 40s. I've got a house full of mold I'm ripping apart. I have teenage kids
Mm.
with not perfect grades right now who don't really want to listen. I've got, all my own stuff. I've got a business that I'm trying to grow. So just like anyone else, we've got those stressors. And Ayurveda says the work we do to cool down our mind against those stressors is equally important to the health habits we put in place. And I think about that a lot. So when I'm about to go to bed, I'm like, you are going to do your deep breathing and journaling, and you're going to let go of what's happening in these categories of your life because we can't generate that physical inflammation because you're going to sit there stressed about it. And what happens? I still wake up, and the first thought is like, did you test for mold in that windowsill? Not yet. Okay, you have to. So I think it's so much about understanding that chronic stress is such a toll on the system. It will cause the oxidation, it will cause the inflammation, it'll cause all the damage we are fighting against. And so we have to build meditation, breath work, collecting peace is something I talk about. Just walk in nature and collect your peace yourself. I teach another habit that to me is my favorite habit, which is called tea time is me time. So about 5 times a day, I brew a delicious cup of tea. I make my own Ayurvedic tea line, so I'm very obsessed with tea. And I'll sit and sip that tea. And what's beautiful about it is we know drinking a hot beverage is going to help with vagus nerve toning. It'll take us from our sympathetic into our parasympathetic nervous system. So I need the physical cue because I'm one of those people. My mind is always churning and burning in there. So I'll have my cup of tea and I'll pause and I'll ask myself some key questions like, how are you doing today? What do you need to change today so you get to eat and you get to have a good day? What do you need to change this week that you signed up for that wasn't good? And my own intuition will give me answers like, you need to cancel that. You need to say no. You're overdoing it. This is too much stress on your system. You didn't plan for dinner, so you need to end 15 minutes early and heat your dinner to eat in the car. So my intuition will tell me all the little self-care things I need to do to get through properly. And unfortunately, if we don't have those cues, for me, tea time is like a mindful moment, an anchor. It's a anchor. The herbs in the tea are calming and cortisol reducing. The act of tea is so nourishing and makes me happy and feel comforted. So to me, I use that. But for you, it might be coffee. For you, it might be 5-minute walks. For you, it might be morning and evening walks to bookend your day. It might be talking to your best friend who gives you the peace you need. So I really encourage everyone to remember that whenever we have that feeling of rising stress, think of it as mental inflammation and choose a different path. Like choose to shut it down how you need to so that it doesn't manifest as physical inflammation and then thus disease.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us don't realize that it seems like it goes from 0 to 100. Like you're
Yeah.
in this state and you're not even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you're in this overload state and you're thinking, "How did I get here?" But there's signs along the way. So, um, so speaking of that, what would be some early body signals telling us that we're like mentally inflamed?
Sure. So the physical signs of inflammation include like that joint pain, aches, stiffness, stomach upset is actually a great connection of mental inflammation to physical inflammation. So if your stomach feels like it's tight or everything you're eating doesn't make you feel good or you're feeling bloated, that's a good sign. Gut-brain connection is saying, hey, something is off here. Mental inflammation for us shows up differently. So some of us take all our attention into our shoulders, right? Some
Mhm.
of us take it into our entire system. Some of us, it shows up as insomnia and disrupted sleep. So I kind of take a moment and say, okay, I'm getting headaches all week this week. That's inflammation. What is happening that's off? And where do I need to add in way more self-care, walks, nature time to heal whatever's driving me nuts? Because it is starting to manifest physically as the headaches and things like that. For many people, they generate a fever. So anytime the body's warm, swelling, or heating up, or having pain, those are your signals that you're inflamed. So friends of mine who have autoimmune conditions, they're like, yeah, my entire body temperature rises. Then I know I'm starting to fight something and I need to adjust my diet to win at that. So it just depends on the person.
Right, right. Can you talk about some like little daily non-negotiables to lower your cortisol and restore resilience?
Absolutely. So ancient Ayurveda said nature heals all things. And we know through modern science that what Ayurveda said about the circadian clock is true. Ayurveda said we are all circadian beings, and if you live according to nature's clock, you'll be healthy. And the moment you defy nature's clock, you are going to swim uphill against the river of life, and it's going to be hard for you. And so, the more we can understand, we should rise with the sun, we should set with the sun. In Ayurveda, we teach that on that circadian clock, 10 to 2 on the clock, is what we call the Pitta time of day. Here in the West, we pronounce that Pitta. So, the Pitta time of day is when the sun is highest in the sky. During the daytime, we're meant to eat our biggest meal then. But at night, that is when the body cleans and clears out our inflammation, our lymphatic system, and the glymphatic system. And it's fascinating because we know now that our brain can collect pounds of waste, up to 3 pounds of waste throughout the
Mhm.
year, because we're not allowing for that glymphatic clean out to happen.
Wow,
Isn't that interesting?
it
And
really is.
every time I go to bed late, I'm like, really? You are really going to make yourself foggy tomorrow on purpose? Go to bed. So that's how I think of it now because we are purposely, in a sense, staying up late. We want to unwind. We want to Instagram and chill or Netflix and chill, whatever the thing is we're doing. But we are sacrificing on our lymphatic system, on our detox, and on our next day brain power and our healthy habits, right? Because if we're tired, we're not going to do them as well or as much. So that's where I think it's so important to look at what are your non-negotiables for your health, to have the brain power, the energy, the metabolism, and the body and health that you want. And we know inflammation will always hold us back when it comes to our metabolism and maybe our weight loss goals or whatever it is we have in place. And so whenever I'm inflamed, I'm like, okay, you know, you're going to now generate disease. You know, you're going to cause all sorts of trouble. And then you're going to have to work harder to reverse this. So for me, my habits are walk in the morning and the evening. I call those my circadian walks. I make sure I pause for tea time is me time about 5 times a day. Those are my anchor points to remind myself, hey, you need to be eating well, hydrating well, and supplementing well. I set alarms on my phone. So I have a 10:30 alarm that goes off, hydrate and supplements. I have a 3:30 alarm, high tea and snack, because that snack helps me hold on and eat a smaller dinner. Because I want a small dinner 3 hours before bedtime so I get that higher quality sleep. So for me, it's a rhythm I build, and then I have like a foundation level I don't negotiate on. That is my foundation for good health. And anytime I can, I fit in more. So more of the supplements or more sprouts for healthy eating or an even bigger sleep hygiene ritual for better bed, better sleep time, you know? So to me, it's like, how do you build such a strong foundation that that alone will hold you through anything? So even though I have mold in my house this year, I tested positive for 14 mycotoxins. I
Mm.
have very little symptoms, luckily. And I truly attribute that to living the Ayurvedic lifestyle. My foundation is holding me. And then now I can do more to make sure I clear out whatever is.
I was diagnosed with mold a year ago, and I tested my home. And when I first moved here to Scottsdale, I moved into a little like 1960s neighborhood and this house was renovated,
Yeah.
but they never did anything to the air ducts. And so the air ducts were just loaded with mold. And so I moved.
Yeah.
And luckily, once I got out of the house, I mean, here I discovered I had this mold, and I'm like taking these supplements, but I'm still breathing all this in, you know. So finally, when I moved out into this new place, I got retested just a few months ago, and the mold was gone. But it was just so disheartening. And then, of course, my landlord was fighting it, saying there's no mold in the house, and I'm like, look at the results of the test, you know,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah, and
Um,
mold is a tough one. I've
it,
done mold assessment twice, two different companies. I had a mold dog come through. That was enlightening. We found all sorts of new issues. So it's quite a journey for anyone, and I had hoped I would never deal with it. But you know what? I think it's so important to create awareness of it because oftentimes we're symptomatic, we don't understand why. No one can figure it out. And it turns out it was mold. So I was
right.
having perimenopause symptoms. I was like, give me HRT, give me anything, guys, fix me. I got a book to write. And then when I realized it was mold, I was like, okay, well, we never would have addressed the root cause
You're right.
if we didn't go dig further.
There's so many people who probably have mold and they don't have any idea that they have mold.
Exactly.
Yeah. You briefly mentioned doshas, and we've talked about this on the podcast that we did last time, but let's revisit the different types of doshas because that's also fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It is. So in my book, I break this down and I was so excited to rename it because in Ayurveda, sometimes we have a lot of different words, right? Ayurveda is a different new word. I talk about ama, which is toxins. I talk about agni, which is digestive fire. It's a lot of new words. And so when I was writing the book, again in the shower, I was like, how do I come up with a term everyone can understand? And so a lot of people have heard of human design. And we know like our human design type, it's a personality quiz that exists out there. And I thought, what if I could give you your elemental design and then you use Ayurveda to understand how to build a new life design? So I renamed the doshas elemental design. And so on
Oh,
my
okay.
website, you can take the elemental design quiz at drshivani.com on my website. And when you take the quiz, you'll come to know what is your primary constitution. And so in Ayurveda, we teach the three elemental designs are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. In the West, we pronounce them Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And these are made up of the five elements. So the five elements are air, ether, fire, water, and earth. And what's cool about this is when I start describing them, you might think, gosh, that's me. But then you might hear a second one and think, oh my gosh, but I'm also that one. So you can have a primary and a secondary constitution. You could also be balanced in all three, although that's pretty rare. So the Vata person is someone who tends to be thin and wiry, taller or shorter than anyone in their demographic. So it's like someone who's tall and lanky or tiny and petite. This person tends to be thin and wiry. They tend to be a go-getter. So this is someone who's always in motion, always moving. They're that marathon runner, that person who wants to be moving all the time. And mentally, this is someone who is always thinking. So air and ether are their primary elements. So you can think of it as a ceiling fan, they're always in motion. You can think of it as a warm breeze that's like always moving beautifully. Or when out of balance, this is like a tornado. So it can get really overwhelming and disruptive. And so a Vata person tends to run through their day forgetting to eat. They'll have like their coffee, their green juice, their snack, chips, whatever, celery. And then by dinner, they're like, oh, I forgot to eat. I don't feel good. And the rest of the doshas are like, we never forget to eat. Like, who are you? How can you do that? How can you survive on just beverages all day? Vata people, when out of balance, have disrupted sleep, tendency towards insomnia, tendency towards anxiety, overwhelm, everything related to dryness, dry skin, dry nails, dry hair, all those things. Later on in menopause, a lot of dryness issues that we experience are really Vata imbalances. And menopause is even considered a Vata time of life. And so a lot of the Vata imbalances happen to us as we're entering the menopause phase of life. And so Vata people, we always sit down with them and say, look, it's great to be a mover. It's great to be in motion all the time. Let me show you how to create a life that's so nourishing and grounding that you're balanced within your constitution. So all the good things of always being in motion, creativity, artistry, all those things that happen for Vata people can come back online without that anxiety or overwhelm piece. And then the second constitution is Pitta. So Pitta people tend to be medium bodied, reddish hair, reddish skin, tend to be more fiery. Their elements are fire and some water. And so Pitta people are more medium body, not on that lean side of Vata, not on that heavier, stronger side, more sturdy side of Kapha. They're just right in between. Pitta people, personality wise, are focused, organized, driven, passionate, sharp, sharp in good and bad ways. Pitta people tend to be creative. They want to go out and create things in the world. They tend to have fiery personalities. So a Pitta person out of balance, imagine a volcano. They erupt, explode. They take it out on the people closest to them. They tend to get angry and hangry and frustrated. And so Pitta people need to really support themselves with cooling foods, cooling beverages, kind of treat yourself like a nuclear reactor and plan for how to manage yourself in your day. So I'm a Pitta. So I every morning have already understood what I'm eating and drinking for the day. And I can feel the rise in the fires in me. And I'll say, you need to hydrate, you need to snack. So I'm constantly calibrating to my own Pitta self. We tend to be really reactive. And so our job is to really balance ourselves. Then there's Kapha. Kapha people is that whole group who's stronger, sturdier. They have tendency towards oily skin, oily hair, big curly, beautiful hair. This is someone who has rounder features, so rounder face, rounder eyes. Their personality is loving kindness. They're the most giving group of people. They're loyal. This is someone who can lift heavier. They're much sturdier and stronger than some of the other groups, but they also are very mountain earth energy. It's earth and water. So in a man, it's very mountain energy. In a woman, it might be that very caretaker, loving grandma energy. They are always the best friends to have. They are so loyal. They have a tendency towards sluggish metabolism and congestion because it's that earth water element. And so our job as practitioners is to show them, look, when you sit down at the end of the day and you cannot get off the couch, it's like Mother Earth sat down. Forgive yourself now and leverage your entire day by moving your energy first thing in the morning and then having a really beautiful, productive day. And then chill at night. Don't try to be a hustler with three careers. That's not your nature. So don't battle your nature, live within your nature and leverage your existing nature. So those are the three constitutions. Do you have any questions on it? Because I love when people hear those constitutions. I want
Yeah,
them to always recognize themselves in it.
yeah, no, I do. You saw me raise my hand when you started talking about one of them.
Yeah.
So some of the common signs that we could recognize if we, discovered this, because I think I've read a lot about this, and there's certain paths, if depending on what elemental design you are, what you should really focus on to, bring like the best health.
Correct. So, for example, Vata people, they tend to not eat all day. So, their homework is 3 square meals a day and build a very grounded routine and schedule into their lives. It kind of grates right against their personality because they're like, no, I'm free flowing and I'm an artist. So, a lot of times I'll meet yogis and people whose career is to be in motion. And when you give them that homework, initially it's tough, but once they do it, all of a sudden they're a grounded and balanced person within their existing constitution. Pitta people like me, we have to carry our food and snacks. In the summer, we have to take it like an off season because it gets so hot. We need to just hang out in the shade, cool down, be near water, and eat those summer foods that the circadian clock is giving us to stay cool, calm, and collected. And we need to be able to really recognize those signs. So whenever I wake up and think, my team is not doing enough, I immediately go, okay, how are we going to balance today? Because that's not the right attitude towards your team. You have a great team. They're awesome. What's the frustration point? Where is it coming out of? And recognize and balance, like, okay, I'm a pitta. I just get frustrated a lot. What is the right attitude and approach? Let me first hydrate, eat a real meal, and then let's see if I feel the same way. And then you look at Guffa, our job is to get them moving in the morning. So Guffa energy, they get the best slumber, they get the best deep sleep, but they also want to sleep for 10, 12 hours at a time. And
Mm.
so as practitioners, our job is to support them and say, look, I need you to move in the morning no matter what, whether you want to or not. And once you get that energetic system moving, you're in motion to have a really great day. And then learn that you are not meant to follow what society currently says is the best thing ever, which is double, triple side hustles. You're meant to complete your day in the evening, and everyone around you should understand that. Like, balance your day on your rhythm, your schedule. And that's how you'll feel successful, happy, and whole instead of battling right up against your nature.
Right, right. And what are some like biggest habit mistakes that you see?
Oh my gosh. Right now, we all believe fasting is good for all of us, and we are getting pretty extreme with it. And a lot of times in health, some of us who are really into health can get really controlling, or if we're frustrated with our health. Like perimenopause threw me for a loop, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring in all the tools at once. We're not all meant to hold big fasts. Vata people actually need their 3 square meals a day. Pitta people do need to eat, or we will be high cortisol. We have a tendency towards inflammation. And so, although we have this like fiery, disciplined personality that can really demand that we do things, it might not always serve us. So, that's why I'm a big fan of functional medicine, getting tested, understanding ourselves, but also understanding our constitution and saying, okay, I'm going to try a fast 12, I'll move it to 14 hours, I'll move it to 16 hours, and then really pay attention to what that does. And then if it's not really working for you, if you're feeling hangry, angry, really not feeling great, that's your sign. Bring it back into a more balanced, moderate approach. Guffa people can actually hold bigger fasts. Another thing that's interesting is we're not all meant to eat cold raw salads and cold smoothies. We're meant to eat for our constitution. And so Guffa people are not meant to eat these healthy salads and things like that. Their digestion and their fire is not as strong. So they're meant to eat warm cooked foods that are easy to digest, and that's how they absorb the nutrition and support a healthy metabolism. And so it's just interesting. We watch health trends, wellness trends, and we think it's all for me. It's not all for you. It's actually, they exist. You're meant to test what works for your constitution and where you're at. Vata people, for example, can just not eat all day. And so our job with them is say, look, healthy fat 3 times a day. So for a lot of them, I'm like, eat a half an avocado 3 times a day. I mean, we're supposed to have variety. So ghee, nuts, like bring in those warm grounding foods. And
Mhm.
you'll start to see this shift in your body where you feel more settled. Brain feels more settled. Anxiety, overwhelm starts to disappear. So it's really about customizing. Even another example is cold plunge. Nowadays, we think we should all cold plunge. That's not really good for Vata. Vata is already cold and dry and airy. You're not meant to freeze it now. Like that person's already going to run cold. So it's really about this beautiful moderate path. And I think as women, we know intrinsically that the moderate path is better for us. We're not meant to go to the extremes. But in the longevity biohacking space right now, the way it's being marketed and built is just like carnivore or cold plunge. Like it's
Mhm.
so extreme on both sides. And that actually does appeal to some of our personalities. I'm a bit them. Like, let's go, let's try. And then right before I go to try, I feel like over 80% of the time my body goes, no, don't do it. And when you listen to that voice, that's your intuition telling you, actually, that thing is not for you. Know yourself.
Right, right. Since we're talking about these different designs, let's bring spices into the mix. And
Sure.
like, because I'm a huge spice person, I'm big into like supplements. And so give us some spices that might help us in this routine also.
For sure. So in Ayurveda, we're the biggest fans of spices and herbs. And in my herbology class, I remember sitting there and the teacher explaining, the professor was like, look, did you know ginger? It's not just for when you're nauseous. Ginger is a powerful digestive support. It ignites the digestive fire in the morning. It's going to get you started. It's going to help that Agni metabolism get churning and burning for the day. It's antibacterial, so it's also supportive to total gut health, getting rid of the bad but leaving the good in place. So to me, ginger is an underutilized herb and plant, and you could have it as easily as ginger lemon tea in the morning. A lot of us need the alkalization support as well, so lemon helps with that. Then I love fennel. Fennel to me is one we should all carry around, whether in the seed form or in tea form. Sometimes you go to a restaurant or you're out and about traveling and you eat something and it doesn't really sit well. That's a good time to use fennel. Fennel will soothe and cool down the system. I also carry peppermint tea at all times in case I need that because
I
that'll
need
soothe
to.
and cool. Yeah, it just cools down the system. Sometimes you'll eat something you're intolerant to, you don't even realize it, and it's like an immediate fast fix. Turmeric happens to be my favorite spice on earth because it was my dissertation. So I do use turmeric as my first line solution to pretty much everything in life because of everything I mentioned. Anti-aging, like it's immune supportive, anti-inflammatory, anti-H. pylori, anti-candida. So like it's so good for the gut lining and gut microbiome while leaving the good in place. And I've had a pretty big obsession with gut health my whole life. Another couple good ones. Cinnamon is a good one. We know it helps with blood sugar. It's anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial as well. So when we crave that sweet, happy taste, cinnamon is a great thing to start incorporating more of. In the fall, I drink teas with more cinnamon, like black tea, cinnamon tea, which is always like a holiday treat, but without the sugar, garbage, and junk that we could get in all the pumpkin spice lattes and Christmassy drinks that come through. So I drink black cinnamon tea as my healthy holiday treat drink. Um, let's see, cumin seeds are actually a pretty underrated spice as well. In Indian cooking, we take whole cumin seeds and we cook them in oil or ghee or butter, and we warm them up and let them start dancing in the pan. And then anything else you want to cook, you can put it right on top. So we do that with lentils, we do that with vegetables. But in ancient Ayurveda, we knew that a lot of foods aren't easy to digest. So it's actually important to give your body the spices that are pre-digestive and supportive. So when you take that food in, you can absorb it. So all lentils, all beans, we use that spice called cumin. And we actually have another spice called hing, Hing, that you can use. And you can put them both, a pinch of each in the pan. But it really helps with that absorption. So if you have any people who are vegetarian and vegan who are eating more beans, but say they're hard to digest, even broccoli and cauliflower are relatively hard to digest. These spices can help you really absorb that nutrition out of them.
Oh, that's really good to know. And speaking of that, food is such a huge part of inflammation.
Yeah.
So, what are some nourishing foods that we could incorporate into our diets?
For sure. So in Ayurveda, we teach that fresh food is the best. Fresh, local, organic, all those things. We know through modern science that processed food, seed oils, all these foods that we're eating that are actually occupying the majority of our calories that we eat in a given day in America, those foods are harmful. And so the more we can eat fresh, local, organic, anti-inflammatory diet is considered a really good balance of your proteins, your fiber. You can look to the Mediterranean diet as an example of how to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. What's interesting is in Ayurveda, we talked more about how you eat and when you eat than what you eat. I find nowadays a lot of us are pretty educated on eat more protein, eat more fiber, eat less of the bad carbs, replace them with the good carbs that are healthy and nourishing. Avoid sugar, avoid alcohol. We know the top five inflammatory foods nowadays are gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and then these seed oils, ultra processed foods. And for some, I say red meat as well, because sometimes red meat is hard to digest for some, and we need to build a stronger digestive fire to process it. Then we know peanuts can have mold on them. We know soy can be problematic for some. So I usually sit down with people and say, what inflammatory food can we cut out of your life so we're not actively inflaming ourselves? And then can we bring in more of the fresh and good? But a key thing Ayurveda said was don't eat old food. Old food is dead and lacks prana. And what's interesting is nowadays a lot of us want to do that meal prep and get cooking out of the way, when in fact, food past a day old is kind of considered dead and harder for the body to process. So, when possible, either freeze it. If you're going to meal prep, freeze it so it's frozen in time, or try to cook fresh every other day when possible. And when you are eating, Ayurveda says sit down to eat that meal. Don't stand and run around and eat. Sit, focus, take 3 deep breaths before you eat that food. Be consciously eating that food so you get those benefits. A lot of times now we really relegated food to be like, oh, I'm going to eat because it's fuel. And we honestly have made it really not fun. For me, myself, I'm always like, oh my gosh, protein, protein. I have to do the protein. So
Hmm.
it kind of takes the joy out of it. And so every once in a while, I'm like, no, you're meant to enjoy it. Make a frittata out of it. Make it fun. Add some spices in there so you have some variety with all this protein you're trying to consume. And so that's where I encourage people to like play with it, have more fun with those super spices, push out the bad inflammatory foods by bringing in more of the good, but also pay a little bit of attention if everything we're eating is kind of dead and then not nourishing us and giving us that true cellular health that we want to have.
It's funny you mention that because I've competed in bodybuilding shows, so I'm huge into food prep, and I'm also a flight attendant. So, I do prep my meals in advance because I bring all my own food with me on my trips. And when I was having all these like issues, my oncologist, my holistic oncologist, suggested that I do some, extra blood work, and she said, "Let's test your histamine levels,"
Yes.
and they were off the charts. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so the first thing I think of, well, she starts telling me. And then, of course, I look at the list of foods. Now, I'm thinking that I'm eating healthy, avocado and some of these other, things. And I'm looking at this list going, all these foods are so high in histamines. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so I've really taken a huge uh, step back and reevaluated. And so I still food prep, but I only food prep maybe 1 or 2 days versus 4 or 5 days in advance. But it's really made a big difference. And then I've, started taking a DAO supplement to help with my histamine levels. And I got retested and my histamine levels have dropped. But that's another thing that a lot of, I think, women don't realize that their histamine levels are off the charts. And that starts getting into this mast cell activation. And it's just,
Very true. And we're learning more about it now, which is so great. Even I myself am dealing with histamine issues. The doctor was like, I bet you're eating lots of things that are problematic in there. And so it is important. And when you do look at histamine, the first thing they say is don't eat leftovers, don't eat old food. And
mhm,
that's tough because so many
it
of us
is.
are. So when I travel, I'll take snacks. And then it's tough because wherever you're going to eat in an airport will likely
Hmm.
not meet your food goals.
Hmm.
So a lot of times I have to like order in from places that are healthy and seek. So things are getting better, but I'll take restaurant food over old food any day because I want it to be fresh. So we
Right,
have to kind of play with that.
right. Okay, let's move. You mentioned earlier too, I just want to briefly touch about your inflammaging. I love that term. And it's so true. I see it in myself. I see it, and every time I walk out on the street, you look at people, and I'm like, oh. So let's talk about inflammaging.
For sure. So I go to a really cool gym where I live in South Florida, and every time I see the women who are lifting by me, I'm like, wow, you guys, like you can tell by their bodies, you actually cannot tell their age at all. And then you look at their face and you're like, you are older than me by maybe a few decades. Well, goodness. But you lift twice as heavy as I do. So I really look at aging as optional. I know that over time we will have this cellular decline. These things will happen. That's what leads to us finally passing away. I get that part of it. But I actually think that we have this ability and power to build so much vibrant health in the here and now so that as we age, we can enjoy life even more. We can do as much as we've always done. And I see examples of it all the time. In South Florida, people are very active. So it's like everyone's biking and walking and moving. Our weather's pretty conducive to it. But I really do look at inflammaging as this punishment that we could reverse at any moment. Inflammation meets aging gives you inflammaging symptoms. They're just symptoms. Whenever I wake up, and this happens sometimes, I'm going through a busy season right now. If I wake up and my body has aches and stiffness, if I have a pain somewhere in my body, if that week I get more headaches, if I'm eating but it doesn't feel good, I will stop because I'll have a thought go through, gosh, is this aging? This sucks. The minute the thought goes through, I go, no, 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 that's inflammaging. Something has gone sideways. Change your behavior. What is it? Are you taking your turmeric? Are you eating more sugar and treats this week? Did you find some dark chocolate and you're just overdoing it because you're stressed out? Are you hydrating? Are you moving your body enough? Have you given up a lymphatic detox part of your lifestyle that you can't let go of? Is it too much travel? Like what changed? And the minute you revert back to the foundation lifestyle that you put in place, those symptoms go away.
Mhm.
And so, everyone who's listening, if you are suffering with those symptoms of inflammation, you can reverse them now. The problem is we let them keep going. We don't want to go to orthopedics and find out what is the problem and then start to go to PT to address it. I'm a culprit of that. I never want to go. We don't want to pause and go to chiropractic and go do the red light therapy and the different modalities we know that are available to us. We don't want to pause and shift diet and get rid of the whatever we picked up as a new habit, might be dairy, might be gluten, whatever is inflaming us. But I do want to say 10, 20, 30 years down the line, chronic low grade persistent inflammation, that forest fire brewing in the body, ends up resulting in chronic metabolic disease, chronic inflammatory diseases,
Yeah.
which is much harder to reverse out of. And so that's why I talk so much about inflammation is growing up. I saw my family suffer with diabetes, cancer, heart disease, stroke, amputation, and Parkinson's. And I thought, that's horrible. If that's how you spend the last 20 years of your life is in and
Right.
out of doctor's offices as a full-time job,
Mm.
that's horrible. What do I have to do to prevent that? And so that's why inflammation is such a powerful conversation. And those inflammaging symptoms are your fire alarms going off. Each one is a fire alarm. And once you've hit three, four, or five, you are in full blown inflammation mode. You just don't realize it. And that's the time. Get tested, go to the doctor. Of course, HSCRP is an indicator, high cholesterol, high A1C. These are all warning signs. Then take it a step further. Go to functional medicine, get a stool test, go much deeper down the rabbit hole. And
Stool tests are the best.
I
I mean,
agree.
it's a simple test, it's not something that you really, want to do, but I've learned so much. I have helped, it's helped me so much as far as diagnosis and getting to the root of the problem versus, not knowing. So highly recommend a GMAP or like a stool test.
I agree. It's so insightful
So
and it can,
insightful.
it can show you the root cause of why you're inflamed. It's usually gut dysbiosis.
Hmm.
We don't realize it could be a parasite. I had my kids tested this year. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, let's just address this and then we're going to win at our health again. It's what showed me that there was mold. My stool test came bad, and my functional medicine doctor goes, Shivani, I watch your Instagram. I know what you eat every day of your life. I know your lifestyle. This stool test doesn't match up to you. Something else must be wrong. Let's go investigate. Mycotoxin test comes in. Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
So there's such an importance in getting data on yourself, especially with a stool test,
Hmm.
because it can really point to where that root cause issue is, as opposed to just a blood test. I find the blood test is like, okay, you generated a problem, but where do you address the root cause? It's
Right.
usually from the stool test.
Right, right. I agree 1,000%. And then there's also emotional inflammation.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I called it mental inflammation, I was kind of grouping emotional and mental health all into one term. But yes, we oftentimes go through life and have really big emotional peaks, emotional lows that can happen. I have had many clients come to me and they call and they're like, I just went through the worst divorce on earth. Now I have Lyme disease. I just went through the worst divorce on earth. I now have name autoimmune condition A, B, or C. I had a death in my family. This just happened. So I think we need to really recognize that life is going to have its big ups and downs. Well, I can't control everyone's life, even though I do try to. So if we can't control everyone around us and God's plan for us, what we can control is our resilience. We have the ability to say, okay, life is going to throw hurdles at me. How can I build a foundation of health that gives me the capacity to deal with the hits when they come? And when it comes to that emotional stress, if we're going to sit and kind of be in that home of whether it's victimhood, survivalhood, whatever it is that's emotionally causing the stressors, that will also cause the inflammation that causes disease. So we can't outchase mental and emotional struggles and stressors. We can somewhat mitigate their effect by building this foundation healthy lifestyle, but we also have to go do that work. We know, according to modern psychology now, that ages, they call it the advanced, there's a testing you can do, and your childhood adverse events are directly correlated to chronic disease later in your life. So that's just one indicator that if we're going to have these emotional health struggles or emotional struggles in our lives, to really pay attention to how we're going to help heal ourselves on that way so we don't cause inflammation.
Right. Movement's another area that shifts with age. So, what kinds of exercises would you recommend to support the body at this stage without increasing inflammation?
Yeah, it's interesting. Ayurveda says walking and yoga and breath work is enough. And every time I go to India, I'm like, where's the gym? We need to lift. And they're like, you Americans focus on lifting and pushing weight around. If you did yoga, it's your full body weight. Try to do a headstand. Try to do these poses and hold them. That's
Hmm.
building long, lean, healthy muscle. And I always laugh and I'm like, no, I need my cardio. I need my workouts. Um, I think we have so much good science right now, and I love fusing the ancient with the modern. So to me, the ancient is right. Walking is great. Yoga is great. Many people are not into yoga. They're like, I'm not contorting my body in that way. I say, no worries, try Pilates. It's a different approach, but getting a lot of the same results. And then we have a lot of modern science now that talks about lifting. I think what's interesting to me is as we age, sometimes we have to give up those past workouts we loved. I loved HIIT training for over a decade. And at this age now, my body has no capacity for me to go at it for the HIIT training. But we know VO2 max and these things matter. So it's like, how do you find your perfect equation for your body type?
Hmm.
And so when you customize back into elemental design, Vata people are going to have that tendency to go marathon run, endurance, they have it. But building recovery in is important. Otherwise, they'll constantly burn out, injure, have dryness in the system. And so I really encourage my athletes on the Vata side, oleation, real nutrition through food. Don't strip the body out constantly. On the Pitta side, we have a lot of resilience to just go. But I think the recognition is as we're aging into the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, can we be a little more balanced in our approach, a little kinder to the body? So in my case, I gave up the HIIT training, but I kept lifting, yoga, walking. That's a good equation. And then Kapha is actually not meant to go too hard, but we do need them to move. So they'll have a tendency to want to walk in yoga. And the job with Kapha is to encourage them, no, I need you to lift. I need you to push a little harder. Don't go too hard. The body only wants to go so far, but push harder than your normal. So that's where group classes are so beautiful. Sometimes we
Hmm.
need someone else to push us. So I lift in a group class so that I'll push myself harder.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I did want to mention that you have a supplement line, Fusionary Formulas.
Yes, yes. I created my supplement line 10 years ago. And after my PhD, I was the biggest fan of turmeric. I was just an evangelist. And anytime someone came to me, I'd say, you should take turmeric for that. And so my family around me was like, if you're going to say that for the rest of your life, you should make your own. And so I created my turmeric line for orthopedics. My goal was when I go to ortho and I say I have pain, can't they say you can take turmeric for that as their first line solution for us? And then, of course, they've got those big, heavy, awesome toolkits. They can also offer those solutions, but let's offer the patient the choice of natural, holistic solutions as well. And so that was where I started 10 years ago. And then now I teach about turmeric and everything online. And we have thousands of people who take it regularly as their daily preventive or as their support if they need more active support for inflammation.
Right. I know I've actually taken your supplements and love them. They're quite nurturing, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I
I
appreciate
also finally want to talk about your latest book, The Inflammation Code. It's not out yet, right?
Correct. It
So
comes out February 2026.
okay.
And the whole dream there is to show people the Ayurveda lifestyle in a bite-sized, approachable way that you can build into your life as a rhythm. And when you do that, you start to feel that feeling I want everyone to have, which is whole and nourished and healthy and vibrant, bringing body, mind, and spirit into alignment so that they can have that quality of life and that preventive lifestyle that we all deserve, that we need to have in this modern day life when things are going so sideways.
I know. I went on to Amazon, took a look, and you can pre-order it on
Yes.
Amazon, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to be on the list because that's going to be a book in my arsenal also too.
Thank you.
And if people wanted to find you, work with you, I know you're on social media. Can you give us all that information too?
For sure. So the book's website is theinflammationcode.com. My website is my name, shivanigupta.com. So ShivanIGupta. And I'm at Dr. Gupta on Instagram, where you'll find all my links and my podcast and everything like that. And then my supplement company, Fusionary Formulas, Fusionary. I made a special code for your audience,
Oh,
which is
great.
age is irrelevant, is 15% off for them at Fusionary.
Okay, awesome. And
Yes.
one last question. Ayurveda has such a beautiful perspective on aging, one of wisdom, leadership, and expansion. What message do you want most women over 50 to take heart?
I want everyone to know you have the power to change your health in any given moment. You have the ability to be sovereign in your health. And that comes from advocating for yourself, digging into you and your own elemental design, and building a custom rhythm for you that works for you. And holding that as your number one pillar in life is what will gift you everything else that you want in life. Vibrant health, vibrant joy, vibrant magnetism to call in everything that you deserve.
That's a great way to end the podcast. We've been chatting for about an hour now. So this has been fantastic, Shivani. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us. And for my listeners, I interviewed her prior, and I can give you all that information when I release the podcast. So again, thank you so much. It was so wonderful chatting with you and seeing you.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Take care. I sure hope you enjoyed my interview with Dr. Shivani. It was a powerful reminder on how deeply interconnected our bodies, minds, and daily habits truly are. As a renowned Ayurvedic practitioner, wellness doctor, podcast host, and author, Dr. Shivani offered a wealth of insight into how ancient practices can elevate our modern lives in simple and yet profound ways. And here are some takeaways from our conversation. Number one, Ayurveda is a roadmap for balance and longevity. Dr. Shivani explains that Ayurveda isn't just a style of healing, it's a blueprint for living in harmony with our natural rhythms. When we tune into our unique constitution, honor our body's signals, and choose foods, routines, and self-care practices that restore balance, we create an environment where healing and vitality can flourish. Number two, gut health is the foundation of total well-being. She emphasized that the gut is the command center for immunity, energy, mood, and even mental clarity. In Ayurveda, digestion is everything. When our digestion is strong, our entire system benefits. She walked us through how mindful eating, proper food combining, and daily rituals such as warm water, spices, and consistent meals can transform the ways we feel from the inside out. Number three, turmeric is a powerhouse when used correctly. One of Dr. Shivani's great passions is educating the world about the therapeutic benefits of turmeric. She highlighted its potent anti-inflammatory properties, its ability to support gut health, and its far-reaching impact on reducing chronic inflammation throughout the body. She also shared that bioavailability matters, choosing high-quality turmeric formulated to be absorbed effectively, is the key to maximizing its healing potential. Number 4, small habits create big shifts. Perhaps one of the most encouraging points she made is that Ayurveda doesn't require a massive lifestyle overhaul. Instead, a handful of consistent nourishing habits, such as starting the day with grounding rituals, incorporating healing spices, or simply listening to your body, can set the stage for long-term well-being. And finally, wisdom is most powerful when it's practical. Dr. Shivani has a gift for breaking down ancient principles into real-world tools. Her message was clear. The knowledge is timeless, and when applied with intention, it can help us live with more energy, clarity, resilience, and joy. Work with her. You can find her on most social media platforms at Dr. Shivani Gupta. It's ShivaniniGupta. She also has a website, shivanigupta.com. Her wonderful line of supplements is Fusionary Formulas, and you can use the code AGEISIRRELEVANT to get a discount if you see something that you'd love to have. You can reach out to me at helen@ageisirrelevant.com, and I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And until next time, age truly is irrelevant. Bye-bye.